What if someone could make you question your own memory, your own feelings, even your own sanity, and you'd never once suspect a thing? This isn't a horror movie plot. This is something happening to real people, in real relationships, right now. It's called gaslighting, and it's one of the most powerful and dangerous psychological tactics ever studied. By the end of this video, you'll understand exactly how it works, why your mind can't naturally defend against it, and how to spot it before it's too late.
Let's start with the basics. What actually is gaslighting? Most people throw the word around loosely, but the real definition is more specific and far more disturbing than most people realize. Gaslighting is a form of psychological manipulation where someone causes you to question your own perception of reality. Not just your opinions, not just your feelings, your actual memory of events, your sense of what is real. And here's what makes it truly dangerous. It doesn't happen all at once. It's slow, gradual. A small doubt planted here, a quiet contradiction there, until one day you wake up and you don't trust your own mind anymore. Now, where does the word actually come from? Because this is important. In 1944, there was a psychological thriller film called Gaslight. In it, a husband secretly dims the gas-powered lights in their home, then tells his wife the lights aren't changing at all. When she notices something is off, he convinces her she's imagining things. Over time, she starts to believe she's losing her mind. That film gave a name to something that had been happening for centuries, but had never been properly defined. And today, psychologists recognize gaslighting as a serious form of emotional and psychological abuse. Now, here's something important I want you to understand before we go deeper. Gaslighting isn't always intentional. Some people do it consciously, as a deliberate tactic to gain control. But others do it out of their own insecurity, fear, or deeply rooted defense mechanisms, without fully realizing the damage they're causing. But here's the truth. Intentional or not, the effect on your mind is exactly the same. So how does it actually work? What's happening inside the mind of someone who gaslights? And more importantly, what's happening inside yours? That's what we're getting into next.
Gaslighting doesn't look like what most people imagine. There's no dramatic confrontation, no obvious villain. It operates quietly, through 4 core tactics that slowly dismantle your grip on reality. Let's break each one down. Tactic 1, denial. The first tactic is denial, and it's exactly what it sounds like, except it's far more calculated than a simple lie. Imagine you're in a conversation with someone. They say something hurtful. You bring it up later, and they look you dead in the eye and say, "I never said that." Not, "I didn't mean it that way." Not, "I'm sorry it came across like that." A flat, calm, absolute denial. Like the moment never happened. And here's where your subconscious becomes your worst enemy. Because your mind doesn't want conflict. It doesn't want to believe someone close to you is lying to your face. So it starts to negotiate with itself. Maybe I misheard. Maybe I'm remembering it wrong. And just like that, the first crack appears.
Tactic 2, minimizing. This one is especially insidious because it often disguises itself as reason. You express how something made you feel, and instead of being heard, you get, "You're overreacting. It wasn't that serious. Why are you so sensitive?" What's happening here is subtle but devastating. The gaslighter isn't just dismissing the event, they're dismissing you, your emotion response, your instincts, your inner world. Do this enough times to a person, and they stop trusting their own feelings altogether. They start filtering every emotion through the question, "Am I overreacting again?" That's not self-awareness. That's psychological damage. Tactic 3, diverting. And this one is where you really start to see the manipulation at work. You confront someone about their behavior. You've built up the courage, you have your thoughts together, and suddenly, the conversation is about something completely different. Why are you always bringing up the past? You're just trying to start an argument. What about what you did last month? The topic has shifted. You're now on the defensive, and the original issue, the thing you raised, is buried. This tactic works because it exploits a flaw in how we process conversations. When we're suddenly put on defense, our brain prioritizes protecting itself over staying on topic. The gaslighter knows this, consciously or not, and uses it every single time.
Tactic 4, countering. The fourth tactic is the most psychologically deep of all, countering. This is where the gaslighter directly attacks your memory. That's not how it happened. You always twist things. Your memory has always been terrible, you know that. Notice what's happening here. They're not just disagreeing with your version of events, they're building a narrative that you are an unreliable narrator of your own life, that your mind cannot be trusted. And if they repeat this long enough, you start to believe it. You stop trusting your own recollection. You start going to them to confirm what happened in your own experiences. That is the moment they have complete psychological control. 4 tactics: denial, minimizing, diverting, countering. On their own, each one might seem like a bad argument or a moment of defensiveness, but together, used consistently over time, they form a system designed, consciously or not, to make you doubt the one thing you should never have to doubt: yourself. But here's the question that most people never think to ask. Why does it work so well? Why can't we just see it happening and stop it? The answer lies deep in your subconscious, and that's exactly where we're going next.
So now you know the tactics, and you're probably thinking, if I know what to look for, surely I'd catch it, right? Wrong. And that's not an insult to your intelligence. In fact, the smarter and more self-aware you are, the more effectively gaslighting can work on you. Here's why. Reason 1. Your subconscious is wired for trust. Your subconscious mind has one job above everything else: keep you safe. And for most of human history, safety meant belonging to a group, a family, a tribe. Being cast out meant death. So your subconscious developed a powerful default setting. Trust the people closest to you. Believe them. Maintain the bond at almost any cost. Gaslighting exploits this ancient wiring directly. When someone you love or depend on tells you that your memory is wrong, your subconscious doesn't fight back. It accommodates. Because doubting yourself feels safer than losing the relationship. This isn't weakness. This is biology. But it's exactly the vulnerability gaslighters, knowingly or unknowingly, tap into every single time. Reason 2. It happens beneath the level of conscious thought. Here's something most people don't understand about the subconscious mind. It processes around 11 million bits of information per second. Your conscious mind? About 50. That means the vast majority of what shapes your beliefs, your reactions, and your sense of reality is happening below the surface, in the dark, where you can't see it. Gaslighting doesn't announce itself. It doesn't send a warning signal to your conscious mind. It seeps into the subconscious, quietly rewriting your inner narrative one small contradiction at a time. By the time your conscious mind starts to notice something is wrong, the damage is already deep. You don't feel manipulated. You just feel confused, foggy, like something is off but you can't quite name it. That fog, that's not confusion. That's your subconscious trying to reconcile two realities at once, the one you experienced and the one you've been told to believe.
Reason 3. It builds gradually. Think about how you boil a frog. You don't drop it into boiling water, it jumps out immediately. You place it in cold water and raise the temperature so slowly, it never notices the danger until it's too late. Gaslighting works exactly the same way. Nobody wakes up one day and suddenly doubts their entire reality. It starts with one small moment, one denied conversation, one "you're overreacting,"
easily dismissed, easily forgiven. But then another, and another, each one slightly more intense than the last, each one chipping away at your self-trust so gradually that you never identify the pattern, because each individual moment seemed too small to matter. This is why victims so often look back later and can't pinpoint when it started, because there was no single moment. There was only the slow, steady erosion of their inner voice.
Reason 4. You defend the person doing it.
And here is perhaps the most heartbreaking reason gaslighting is so hard to detect. Victims almost always defend their gaslighter. Not because they're naive, not because they're weak, but because the subconscious mind, remember, is fighting to protect the attachment, to preserve the relationship. So when a friend says, something seems off about how they treat you, your first instinct isn't to listen. It's to explain, to justify, to protect the very person who is dismantling your sense of reality. You don't understand them like I do. They've been going through a lot. It's not as bad as it sounds. Sound familiar? That's not love talking. That's a subconscious in survival mode, protecting an attachment even at the cost of your own psychological well-being.
Your mind was never designed to defend itself against someone it loves. And that is exactly what makes gaslighting so effective and so devastating. So now you understand not just what gaslighting is, but why it works on intelligent, aware, emotionally capable people. Because it doesn't attack your mind head-on. It slides underneath it, into the subconscious, into the ancient wiring that was built for a world where your survival depended on the people around you. But here's where things shift. Because now that you understand the mechanism, you can start to see the signs. And once you can see them, they lose their power over you. So in the next section, I'm going to give you a checklist, specific, concrete signs that you or someone you know is being gaslit right now.
Everything we've covered so far has been about understanding gaslighting from the outside. The tactics, the psychology, the mechanism. Now, we're going to get personal. Because knowledge is only powerful if you can apply it to your own life. So here are the signs: specific, concrete, and honest. Go through each one carefully. Sign 1. You constantly second-guess yourself. Not occasionally, not in big decisions, constantly. You replay conversations in your head, trying to figure out if you said something wrong. You question your memory of events, even when you were fully present. You feel uncertain about things you were once completely sure of. That persistent inner doubt, especially around one specific person, is your subconscious waving a red flag. Sign 2. You feel confused after conversations with them. You go into a conversation knowing exactly how you feel and what you want to say. You come out of it feeling foggy, disoriented, like you somehow lost the plot. You can't quite explain what happened. You just know something felt off. That mental fog after every interaction isn't a coincidence. It's a symptom.
Sign 3. You apologize constantly without knowing why. Think about the last time you apologized to this person. What exactly were you apologizing for? If the answer is fuzzy, if you apologized because the tension felt unbearable, or because it was easier than arguing, or because somehow you always end up feeling like the problem, that is not a healthy dynamic. Gaslighting trains you to take responsibility for everything, including things that were never your fault to begin with. Sign 4. You feel like you can never do anything right around them. There's always something. You're too emotional, too cold, too loud, too quiet, too much, not enough. No matter what you do, it gets twisted into evidence of your flaws. And over time, you stop trying to get it right because some part of you has accepted that you never will. That feeling of permanent inadequacy around a specific person is not a reflection of who you are.
It's a reflection of what's been done to your self-perception. Sign 5. You feel worse about yourself the longer you're around them. This one is simple, but it's the most telling sign of all. Think about how you felt about yourself a year ago, 2 years ago, before this person became a significant presence in your life. Now think about how you feel about yourself today. If the honest answer is that you've shrunk, that your confidence, your trust in yourself, your sense of who you are has quietly diminished, pay attention to that. Your sense of self doesn't erode on its own. Something or someone has been chipping away at it. 5 signs. And I want to be clear, experiencing one of these occasionally doesn't automatically mean you're being gaslit. Relationships are complicated. People have bad days. Context always matters. But if you went through that list and found yourself nodding at most of them, especially in relation to one specific person in your life, don't ignore that. Your subconscious has been trying to tell you something. This might be the first time you've had the language to hear it. So what do you do now? That's exactly what we're covering in the final section. And I promise you, it's not as complicated as you might think.
If anything in this video has resonated with you, first, I want you to know something important. It is not your fault. Gaslighting works on intelligent, emotionally aware, deeply caring people. The fact that it happened to you says nothing about your weakness. It says everything about how sophisticated this form of psychological manipulation really is. Now, let's talk about what you can actually do. Step 1, name it. The most powerful thing you can do right now is exactly what you're doing, learning the language. When you can name what's happening to you, it stops being this shapeless fog of confusion and becomes something concrete, something real, something you can actually deal with. Gaslighting thrives in confusion. The moment you name it, you take back a piece of your reality.
Step 2. Start documenting. Your memory has been under attack, so stop relying on it alone. Start keeping a private journal. Your phone notes app is fine. After any conversation that leaves you feeling confused or at fault, write down exactly what was said, what happened, how you felt before, during, and after. Don't edit it. Don't second guess it. Just write it down immediately while it's fresh. Over time, this journal becomes something incredibly powerful, an unedited record of your own reality, one that nobody can rewrite. Step 3, talk to someone outside the relationship. Remember how we talked about the subconscious defending the attachment? That's why you cannot fight this alone. Find someone you trust completely, a friend, a family member, a therapist, someone with no stake in the relationship. Share what's been happening, not to get validation, but to get perspective. An outside view cuts through the fog in a way your own mind simply cannot when it's in the middle of it.
Step 4, rebuild trust with yourself. This is the deepest step and the most important one. Gaslighting doesn't just damage your relationship with another person, it damages your relationship with yourself, with your instincts, your memory, your own inner voice. Start small. When you feel something, acknowledge it without immediately questioning it. When you remember something, trust that memory before you dismiss it. When your gut says something is wrong, listen before you negotiate it away. Your inner voice was never broken. It was just being drowned out. Learning to hear it again takes time, but every small act of self-trust is a step back toward yourself. Step 5, create distance or set firm boundaries. This looks different for everyone. Some situations call for a clear, firm boundary, defining what behavior you will and won't accept, and holding it without explanation or apology. Other situations may call for more distance, or even ending the relationship entirely. That's a deeply personal decision, and nobody can make it for you. But what I will say is this: no relationship is worth the cost of your grip on reality.
No connection is worth losing yourself over. You deserve to exist in relationships where your experience of the world is respected, where your memory is not a battlefield, where your feelings are not a character flaw. You deserve that, fully, without compromise.
Gaslighting is one piece of a much larger picture, because manipulation doesn't stop here. It shows up in dozens of forms, in relationships, in workplaces, in everyday interactions. And the more you understand the dark psychology behind it, the more untouchable your mind becomes. In my next video, I'm going to break down the 5 phrases manipulators use to control you. Phrases so common, you've probably heard them today without realizing what was really happening. If you want to keep building that psychological armor, subscribe right now and make sure you don't miss it. Your mind is worth protecting. I'll see you in the next one.